Thank you. Thanks for having me again, Jen. Lovely to be with your radiant self.
So, first initial feeling was wanting to really ask what was the driving force behind creating this book specifically?
Yeah. Well, thank you for that because I do think that my research has been layering and it's also been becoming more and more accessibly written, which is really important. I specifically, this book and the previous one that we've talked about, the mystery tradition of miraculous conception, I wanted to make sure it wasn't going to lie dusty in library shelves, that actually people would read it. And I've been gratified to get that feedback that they are so readable. So the impetus for this book is that um, when I was writing the mystery tradition of miraculous conception, in a sense, I was already writing this book. And it's funny because I've talked to William Henry and he's like, well, you realize that when you're writing a book, you're actually writing two or three books. And I was like, I know what you mean. So I decided to separate out the phase of Mother Mary's life, which was all about her infancy, her divine birth from her grandmother, her mother Anne, her conception of Jesus, and all the way up to the birth of Jesus. I felt that needed to be its own book. But then there was all this other material that I was discovering about Mother Mary that I knew needed its own kind of platform, right? And like you're saying, another layer to the previous material. So in this book, I summarize the material from the previous book about Mother Mary as a divine birth priestess. But then I go into who was she as a stepmother, as the soulmate of Jesus, as the womb master, as the mother in law of Mary Magdalene, as the mentor of not only the women around Jesus, but the men as well, as the one who carried on the mission after the crucifixion and resurrection, the healer, the exorcist, and all that. So, because that list is so long, there was a really strong impetus for me to get out into the world in an accessible way the material about Mother Mary that's been kind of floating around, the early manuscripts, as well as some of the scholarly material that, again, nobody's really reading, or just a very select audience is reading. And it felt like, no, this needs to be out there, accessible to people so that they can really begin a relationship with her or deepen their relationship with her as a personal healer and as a spiritual mentor.
Yes. And what I love about your research is first and foremost, like it goes so deep. So for anyone listening to this, you can pick up any single one of Marguerite's books and you're going to get something totally new, totally fresh, totally uplifting in a way where it's kind of up leveling your consciousness a lot of times. You're like, wow, like this is happening and like I kind of knew this was real. And so you're getting more and more, it's like layers that you keep getting more and more information from. And I just want to note that in the first episode we did, again, episode 53, I will link that in the show notes if you want to check it out. If you haven't already, we talked a lot about Mother Mary and the virgin birth through the light conception. And we talked about Joseph's role and like, what did that look like? And we talked about Mary Magdalene and kind of the role that she played with Mother Mary. But one thing I'd like to circle back to just to kind of lay the groundwork for this interview is if you can talk a little bit into Mother Mary in terms of virgin birth, light conception. What exactly does that mean? And then we can kind of go
Great.
deeper from there.
Build on that. And thank you so much for that feedback about that you feel like you're getting opened up when you read these books, because that is a major intention of mine. And it's a major, I would say, energy that I've conducted through the books, to happen for people, because I want these to be living, active manuscript processes for people, right? Road signs and teachings and things like that. So to talk about Mother Mary as a divine birth priestess, again, she was divinely conceived by her mother, Anne. And this is telling us, and they go back to Sarah, the biblical Sarah, the wife of Abraham, who has Isaac, and all these other women around them, Elizabeth, who divinely conceives John the Baptist, and so forth. This is all of these things I realized through my research were telling us that we're talking about a lineage of women, a lineage of priestesses who, from going way back, had this higher level of technology, which we could call light conceptions. It was working with the light matter interface at a very high quantum physics level, also working with sound, right? Also working with Kundalini energy, right? All of these types of things, and working with the star realms, the star nations, the star intelligences, not to mention Mother Divine herself. So these priestesses were schooled in and taught successive, women in these lineages how to divinely conceive a child without, you know, intimate relations with a man on the one hand. So how to do it in sovereign virgin fashion. But then on the other hand, how to accomplish this in intimate relations in more of a tantric way. So those were the two ends of the spectrum. And Mother Mary was more focused on the virgin aspect, and Mary Magdalene was more focused on the tantric aspect. And so the purpose of these kinds of high level conceptions was what? To bring in a high level being, an avatar, a person who had a level of consciousness that was above the average person and could help bring us all up to that level for the great healing and clearing of the planet that has been continually needed for thousands of years since negative forces have been upon us. Okay. So that's kind of the short story of it. And she was not alone in her work within her generation, because Elizabeth conceived John the Baptist this way. Now, Elizabeth was a much older woman, but I find evidence that they were part of this same ritual, the same conception ritual that 8 women from a certain lineage were involved in. She conceived Jesus, and Elizabeth conceived John the Baptist. And Elizabeth was basically most likely her aunt. She was related.
Yeah, and so that lays a lot of groundwork for like what we're about to get into right now. And so if you all have never heard of divine light conception, these lineages of high priestesses birthing avatars onto the planet, check out, like I mentioned, episode 58, and it's going to kind of lay the groundwork. Also purchase
Right.
her beginning
53,
books.
right?
Yeah, 53. That's right,
Yeah.
53. And then her previous books, I'll link there too, and you can start there, because this is mind blowing to a lot of women, especially who have always, I feel like, inherently, like they're kind of like knew this in themselves, but now they're hearing it and it's kind of opening them up. And it does have that effect, Marguerite, where you're talking about, oh, that was my intention, to be this like conduit of putting this information out into the world. And then when people read it, they sort of have these like cellular awakenings. And it was kind of like, I almost wanted to kind of laugh, because I remember when I was like halfway through and I was like, oh my goddess, right? Like I just like randomly will say things because I read something and I'm like, whoa, like that's crazy, right? And then it reminded me though of when, I used to be in church as a kid and people used to like run around with the Bible and they used to just be like, oh, hallelujah. Like it has that kind of same effect.
Different kind of hallelujah this time, right? Yeah.
Different kind of hallelujah. Yeah. It's more
Yeah.
like holy goddess. Like
Yes.
that is like truth, and you can feel it in your bones.
Mm.
So it's so good. And what I really like about this book is you do go into more of, like it's called, The Secret Life of Mother Mary. So it's more of like the roles that she played throughout her lifetime. So would you share with us a little bit of what you uncovered in terms of the roles that she did play when it comes to Jesus, her son, and like his community and sort of that life?
Right. So the really interesting thing that I have gathered from various texts, as well as the work of Sri Kaleshwar, the late Hindu saint, who was talking a lot about this. Mother Mary was Jesus' soulmate, greatest friend, champion, teacher, and teacher of these deep processes. So everything that Jesus learned, he was transmitted to by Mother Mary, either in utero or after. And so Mother Mary herself was trained in these types of things by her mother, and then the retinue of sacred virgin priestesses that worked with her when she was an infant and a child. So that was one big thing. She was a teacher for him, a soulmate, a solace, a friend, a companion, and she was a supporter of him on every level, emotionally, spiritually, and so forth, which we find, for example, in the Gnostic Gospel of Philip, that three always walked with Jesus: Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene, and Mother Mary's sister, another Mary. Okay. So, we can surmise what kind of role she was having there, what kind of activities. She also was supporting his teachings and his ministry, which were, she shared through her very way of being, through how she was with her own stepchildren, through how she was with the apostles that were around Jesus. She was their continual mentor. She, after the resurrection, she continued these teachings, and she mentored people. She rose them to spiritual leadership. She helped them with their own ascension practices. And so that's just, a start. And one thing that's a whole topic of conversation that really has an entire chapter in here was Mother Mary's role with her sacred womb, not only to conceive Jesus, but to resurrect him at that pivotal time when he was taken off the cross. And that revelation was stunning by Sri Kaleshwar. I discussed that extensively here. The practices and yogas that they used together to accomplish that. So she gave him birth, she gave him rebirth, whatever level you think that is. Some people feel he ascended, to the other higher dimensions. Some people feel he resurrected body and soul, went to India, what have you. Whatever the case may be, she was there. She was the agent. Without her, that would not have happened.
So you're saying the resurrection, because now you're pulling in a second piece, because we know, based off of the first discussion we had in your previous books about the light conception, about the Mother Mary's role in that divine birthing process of Jesus. Now you're talking about too the resurrection of
Yes,
Jesus, and that she played a big role in the resurrection piece and sort
literally.
of, yeah, and sort of he rose again.
Yeah, he
So,
rose again. He rose. He didn't die, and he was reconstituted. And whether, again, it's that she promoted his ascension to the next plane, or whether she promoted his restoration, bodily restoration on this plane, um, it's it's according to whatever the medicine is for you. That's kind of how I see that. One way or another, we're talking about a process of his reconfiguring of himself, just like, I was talking earlier today with Elizabeth Bercovici. Maybe you know her. She's another beautiful sister. And how Jesus was reconstituted in the way that Osiris was reconstituted by Isis, which is Mother Mary's previous incarnation, you see. So
mm,
yes, you can imagine, Jen, hearing this information, okay, let me set the scene. I'm in California at the Divine Mother Center in Laytonville, California, which is one of 2 ashrams dedicated to Sri Kaleshwar. And it's like his American branch. And I'm there to learn the Holy Womb Chakra system from Cindy Lindsay, his senior teacher. And it was like day 4 of 5. And I've just drunk cacao for the first time. So
Oh.
with Angela de la Agua and 2 other sisters who were with us, Brooke Underwood and Diana Marie Kelly. And we, so like I didn't realize I was going to go into this open state of consciousness. So we go wafting up to the cabana where she's been doing these teachings, Cindy. And she starts saying all of these things in reading, and we are just beyond blown away. We're like weeping, And because we were so readied for this energetically through the cacao, it was like we felt it at just multiple levels of our being. And so I was blessed to have that experience. I was in that receptive oracle state when I first received those teachings. Thank you, Angela de la Agua. And so it wasn't just like reading a book like, oh, that's kind of interesting. It's more like, wow, feeling and experiencing it and having that imprint in my soul. And it just was like, I cannot believe that this Hindu man was saying all these things, but it just really feels like truth, And I talk about even that experience in the book, because my book is not just a historical reckoning with Mother Mary, but it's also my personal journey with her, right? That's another element that I don't always talk about with all interviewers.
Mm. And I kind of wondered about that actually. Is your energy, your like journey with her, right? And thank you
Yeah.
for sharing that about how you first came into like her energy through this,
Yeah.
cacao ceremony basically. And then you received it and it was just this open heart experience. And I wondered, what was your journey like? Because I recall in the book, you mentioned it in, I believe, verbatim around the energy of Mother Mary and starting a relationship with her. There was almost this knee jerk reaction to like, like, is this only like a good girl thing? And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because a lot of women feel that
I know.
before they feel the power of the High Priestess of Mother Mary, they're
Yeah.
first having this
That's right.
religious perception and kind of this feeling
Yeah.
like they're bad or dirty somehow. So like how could they ever connect with Mother Mary? And so you mentioned that like in the book, like having this kind of feeling like, wait, is that like have to be a good girl to like connect with her? Or so how
Right.
did you kind of like bridge that? Was it
Right.
through that ceremony?
No, it was much earlier. It was 20 years earlier. By the time I had that ceremony, I just went into like way deeper rungs of something that a journey that I had already been on that really goes back to the death of my mother when I was 10 years old, and I talk about that in the book. And that was a grave initiation, literally, right? Um, into mother loss, into separation, being a living embodiment of the one who is separated from their mother, just as we all, on some level, have been separated from the mother, right? And this is the restoration project we're part of. And along the way, I'd had, various experiences with Mother Mary, but like the next round of awakening was when I was in my 30s and I started getting into women's spirituality and goddess studies and so forth. And I took an experiential program, a women's spirituality program in the Boston area. And they were talking about Mother Mary as the goddess, goddess of the West. And I was already becoming familiar with Mary Magdalene. And then, and maybe it was through that very program that I became familiar with Mary Magdalene as not what that we have been told she is. And they were also, these teachers were also showing us how Mary also was much, much more than we've been led to believe. So that started me on this academic and quasi-personal path. And then it started evening out, like the personal became as important as the academic through various experiences and mentorship that I'd had from others. And all that kind of thing.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing that, because I think it's important to hear somebody like you share their journey to Mother Mary, because a lot of times people can generally feel this almost fear around it. But understanding that opening, which by the way, I've never heard that before, the Mother Mary, the goddess of the West, that
Yeah,
definitely resonates. I really, really love that. Um, and so, yes, I just feel like too with this, another big piece here that I want to bring in is that, so we know her role in this divine conception, like I was talking about, and it got me thinking about modern day priestesses, and modern day lineages. And, you are a priestess, and like, just the energies of like the different lineages that are resurfacing and coming back and all of these things. Will we see divine birthing happening again, or
right.
divine conception? Do you think it's actually happening now?
Yes. I mean, there's a few things that I'd love to address as part of what you're saying. First of all, in the Holy Womb Chakra teachings that I learned and that then became certified to teach and offer in an on-demand format, Sri Kaleshwar, he acknowledged that there were kind of like different levels of divine conception. One was the level of which, Parvati conceived Ganesha, right? Or Mother Mary conceived Jesus. The other is the way that a couple can conceive what he calls a divine child by using a two mantra sequence. And so that is part of the teachings. I've had people work with that, people do that. That is available to us. The point being, it's a purification while you're in the process of sexual conjoining. You're clearing, 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 and you're calling in Vishva Shakti. You're calling in the Mahashakti, the major Shakti, goddess energy, to bless and bring in, like, find for you the high vibrational soul that wants to come in. So this allows for, again, higher level children to be coming in that already are starting at a level that is not as troubled, or old soul, if you will, I mean, or young soul, if you will. Okay, so there's that. I do know of women who have had divine conceptions. I talk about a couple of them in the mystery tradition of miraculous conception, and women who have wanted to. um, I don't know whether there is an unbroken lineage of divine birth. There may be. It may be very, very deeply underground, or it may have gotten broken. Well, something we need to connect back in with the Akashic records and restore. Okay, so there's those levels of the divine birth. And then there is the level of, what is it to walk as a Mary? What is it to walk as a Magdalene? And as you may have seen, that is the precise training that I am offering now. As we're filming this, it's enrolling, and it's going to start in September 2024. So, I encourage people, maybe in your show notes, you'll put that, or however you think it's best. And we have like a master class that's introducing people to that very question. What's a Mary and what's a Magdalene? And is this priestess path for you? Because it's even, yes, divine birth or divine conception can be part of that. And it's much more than that as well. It's whether we're giving birth to children or not, or after we've given birth to children, how do we walk in the world for ourselves, our own healing, our own ascension, and then for, the assistance of others. And we're drawing on the Marys, for this. It's a priestess order. Okay. So I'm helping to resurrect the Order of the Marys. Various people have, over the last decade or so, been resurrecting the Order of the Magdalenes, and I'm helping to bring them both together in this so that we can walk, activating these light codes that, you're talking about activating when you read this book, and take it to the next level. What are our next steps with this? So that we can co-create the Eden on earth again. That's the fifth dimensional consciousness. So this is a process. This is a path. I didn't even know 2 years ago that I would be teaching a Mary and Magdalene priestess training necessarily, but it's been part of my layering, part of my evolution, part of my service.
Let's talk about Seven Sisters, because I just think it's a phenomenal platform. And if you're listening to this, if you've never visited this before, check it out. It's Seven Sisters Mystery School. It's seven is spelled out, Seven. So talk about Seven Sisters Mystery School. We didn't get too much into that, I noticed in the previous episode. So
Yeah.
how did you just come up with this online temple space,
Yeah.
and sort of the way it evolved and it grew, and like what you're doing now?
Yeah. I started out kind of more in the scholarly realm. I went to grad school, but I was also doing experiential processes with other groups. I was learning, and so I went to CIIS, the California Institute of Integral Studies, got my PhD, and began to teach in university settings anything and everything about the sacred feminine, right? So many different topics. Um, and and I started already teaching about Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary. Even before academia, I was teaching about Mary Magdalene, working with the work of Margaret Starbird. So when I went to CIIS, I had further awakenings in that I was initiated into sacred plant medicine. And that's when I knew beyond the shadow of a doubt that these interdimensional realms are real. And I was able to start accessing my information. And then I went to a psychic training school for 3 years, was able to access more information, put it all together. At some point, I met a coach who said, I can help you weave together everything that you're doing and create your own enterprise. And I was like, great. I'm not really going anywhere in academia. I'm too far outside of the box. And so through this individual, I realized one day in the shower, I'm like, okay, I know what I'm doing. I am creating a mystery school. What is the name of it? Or is it an academy? What is academy, institute, mystery school? And then boom, Seven Sisters Mystery School came because I had been working a lot with the Pleiades, both by listening to channelers, reading their books, and also studying them as part of my divine birth scholarship. Finding out very early on that the Pleiades, the seven sisters of the Pleiades, were the seven virgin mothers of our world. They deposited a ton of DNA to us through their light conceptions. And so I was very much attracted to the seven sisters. Later, I was shown in medicine ceremony that I was a Pleiadian ambassador, And so it's all been kind of weaving together, right? And so in this latest work with Mother Mary, even beyond the book, through connecting now with William Henry, who's this just amazing scholar, priest, uh, I have realized the depths of how Mother Mary and the seven sisters of the Pleiades are connected. Mm. And so we're going to look into that in the training as well, because this is about star knowledge, connecting to our starry nations and our star realms. And Mother Mary is intimately involved in all of this.
I sense a book coming from that, like the Pleiadians and Mother Mary and how that's all connected.
It may well be. She's the eighth dove sister. She's the eighth Pleiadian sister, essentially.
Okay. So really quickly for people listening to this, if you're unfamiliar with Pleiadians, this is a star. Would you just describe it as a star family?
Yeah, a star realm. A whole entire star and planetary system that's located more or less where we see those seven stars. We're shown it's from the nape of the neck of Taurus, the bull, and it's, you can find it in the sky. But it's really a complex of at least hundreds of stars and that many, if not thousands, and that many planets. Mm-hmm. So there's an overarching governing intelligence of them. And then there are, like anywhere in the galaxy and like anywhere on Earth, individual kinds of intelligences and personalities. So each of the seven sisters of the Pleiades is an ambassador from a Pleiadian planet. Okay. And that's one of the things that I've recently received in Oracle space.
Mm-hmm.
And they decided to come together and really help the Earth plane, okay, by helping me bring forth avatars onto the planet.
Mm-hmm. And so did they then directly work with Mother Mary?
I think so. I think that, let's put it this way, she's part of the same stream of female Sophia womb mastery, knowing and love that they are. So whether we want to call her Pleiadian or not, it doesn't really matter. Whether we want to call her Syrian, whether we want to call her Andromedan, she's everywhere because she's part of the hologram. It's part of this divine net of female great beings who,
Same frequency.
same frequency. They look angelicish, kind of wingish, kind of, which is why we call them doves. That's how we can make sense of it as humans. Oh,
Okay.
the seven doves. Okay. And there's a lot of dove imagery connected with Mother Mary as well. And so I just really began understanding, oh, they are in collaboration, they're in communication, because they're part of the same network that transcends the Pleiades, that transcends the Christed family. You know what I mean? It's like there's a much larger picture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can sense that. I mean, right away, straight away. And every time I talk to you, I mean, my crown is just
Yeah.
tingling. Like, I literally feel like my hair
Hot.
is like having a static reaction to
Yeah.
something, but it's so amazing. And so I'm surprised I don't need hairspray in the middle of talking to you just to like keep everything down.
I know. Well, that's fantastic. This definitely um opens seeing for a lot of people, opens consciousness, because it basically shows you what was already there on the other side of the door of your own
Exactly.
self. You know what I mean? It's not depositing anything to you. It's just opening a door to something that's already there, because the Marian consciousness is already within us, because she is us.
Mm.
She's just a mirror to our soul. And that's the major message that I've been getting since having this book come out and the oracle work that I've been doing. She's like, we are you. And so we're just helping you become more of you,
Mm.
more of who you are, which is the divine angelic human that
I feel
transcends
that.
any religion, any star system, anything.
I was surprised that Mother Mary came to me first before Mary Magdalene. I really was. Like, I don't know why. Maybe it's because a long story short, a lot of the women I was, or younger women, like newer spiritual girls, I guess you could say, were all about Mary Magdalene. And so
Yes,
I'd always heard Mary Magdalene, Mary Magdalene. At least in my spiritual world, I would always hear these young little light beings talking about Mary Magdalene, Mary Magdalene. So I thought, oh, for sure, if any of the Marys come to me, it's definitely gonna be Mary Magdalene. And then Mother Mary,
yeah,
like immediately, I was like, whoa, like, and it's
yeah,
so powerful. And still, I haven't, Mary Magdalene hasn't come to me yet, but I've worked extensively, with Mother Mary, just
yeah,
on a, I guess you could say, one-on-one kind of
yeah.
energy, and her coaching me and teaching me. And she's very loving, mothering, kind. Like everything you describe is like exactly the energy I've ever gotten from her. Just this unconditional love.
Yeah. She's the
Yeah.
head Mary. She's the head teacher. And that's what we're restoring now, the head mother.
Yes.
Okay. Um, it's taken a while to get here. We had to go with the more accessible one, the one who was more obviously sexual, the one who was presented as imperfect. Seven demons came out of her. Maybe she was a prostitute. I don't know, right? She's more our sister, where Mother Mary is our
Magdalene.
mother.
Yes.
Okay. And so it's important to honor the mother of all the mothers. which is what Mother Mary connects in with, because she had her final ascension to connect with Mother Divine. She did accomplish that, right? And so this is what we need. This is what we're missing. And then we can find out. And I talk about it, as you saw. How did Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene work in tandem? Okay.
Now, yes, yes. If I can hit on something though, if I can ask a question there about, and you don't have to give it all because it's in the book, but like about that final ascension with Mother Mary.
Yeah.
What could you talk a bit on that?
Yeah. There's a whole chapter, right, devoted to it in the book, The Secret Life of Mother Mary. And that is taken from the existing texts about Mother Mary's ascension process. The Christians call it either the dormition or the assumption, that she either went to sleep or her body was assumed. And those are not wrong, because like she didn't die, she just changed state. And it was an elaborate process. That's what is described in those texts. And I kind of give the reader friendly version of what it's saying and helping us to make connections to other traditions and other things that help us not write it off as like Catholic BS, right? But just say, oh my gosh, she was in the tradition of these great masters who go rainbow body. That's ultimately what happened to Mother Mary. She really became like totally went into the light. They couldn't even find her body at the end. So she, like, they say that I'm only just getting this now and talking to you. They say that the great saints who do this leave only hair and fingernails. She didn't leave anything.
Whoa.
She took the bodily energy, the soul energy completely out of all of her cells, and nothing was left of the material realm except for her linens that had enshrouded her body. So it's a whole process, a whole description of how she goes through the various dimensions and the various rungs and what's happening on the inner planes, who comes to be with her, what ancestors, right? What guardian helpers and so forth. Because these are steps for us to think about at death. Okay, how do we want to cross over? So many of us have heard that ancestors come to us, right? Well, she had ancestors galore. You know, the whole entire retinue. Okay. And so it's just really fascinating when you think of, oh my gosh, this is a description of a full-blown ascension into rainbow body by, lo and behold, a female master on the planet.
Yeah.
Just even seeing it from that perspective, like forget about that I'm even talking about Mother Mary. Just to hear like a woman is being described going through this process, that is healing and empowering and code activating in and of itself.
And you talked about her ancestors, and so just Anne came to mind, her
Yes,
mother,
Anne
and
was
like,
there.
did her mother just drop her off at a priestess temple, or her mother was also in the arts?
Her mother was in the arts. Her mother was a divine birth priestess. Her mother was deeply connected with these priestesses of the temple, whatever temple it was, be it an official Hebrew temple or an Essene temple or some kind of hybrid. Nobody even knows these. It's so amorphous because when you start going into the Bible, you start hearing all sorts of things were going on in the temple that you don't hear about in Orthodox Judaism. You know what I mean? And so Anne was in that lineage. She brought Mary as far as she could up to age 3. And then she knew she had to give her over to the temple, just like the Dalai Lama as a child eventually is given to the monks, right? And that's where she continued on her education such that she could divinely conceive by either age 12 or anywhere between age 12 and 16. That's what her gospel tells us, okay? So I don't know where we were going with that. I'll just pause.
Yeah. So her mother, being Anne,
Yeah.
now had dropped her off at that temple, that
Yeah.
priestess temple. I right away thought when I read that, like about and heard that about what if we have been so lucky, right? Like to be
I
dropped
know.
off at little mystic kids off to the priestess temple. Okay,
That's
yeah,
right.
thank you. Thank you. Thank
That's
you.
right. That's right. And
Uh,
she was advanced enough because she herself was divinely born, Mother Mary. that she didn't miss them. She didn't get wounded by that departure, that separation. For all we know, Anne could have continued to visit her. We never hear about that. But I'm just getting that now. Well, wouldn't that make sense? She's not going to just be over in the neighborhood and not go visit her daughter. She's going to check in on her. So it's like, it's just that Mary went to live in a different place to get more intensive 24/7 teachings all the time at a level that Anne couldn't have and shouldn't have exactly imparted to her daughter. Like there does have to be some degree of separation for there to be enough neutrality for Mother Mary to be able to do it, is what I'm getting in the moment, actually, as we're talking, So, okay.
That brings a lot, and that makes tons of sense to me. And I guess, what I really wanted to ask really quick was, so Mother Mary was born through divine light conception, same as
By
Jesus
Anne.
through
Yep.
Mother Mary. Okay, got it. Through. So it was like a lineage type of like thing
That's
that
right.
was passed on, light
That's right.
conception, divine light conception. Okay.
That's right.
And then the other thing I wanted to ask was, do you think that we'll see more of these Mother Marys walking the earth again in our lifetime?
Well, I like to think so. I mean, that's why I'm doing my priestess training, to facilitate that. But of course, it's not the only way. Maybe it's not even the best way for people to do that. And there are probably a lot of walking Marys and Magdalenes already, because it's a self-initiated order. I'm just going to be providing some things that we're going to go through and some inspiration and so forth. But ultimately, it's to give everybody the fishing rod so that they can be in this co-creative partnership with Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene themselves, not get into a new stream of dogma that's limiting and, all this and that. Each person is going to have her own personal ministry, So, I mean, there are women on the planet now who are probably along these lines. They're very high. Like, I would say my teacher, Cindy Lindsay, I would consider her a Mary, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I would consider Elaine Kalila Doty a Magdalene.
Mm.
There are walking women, and many of the participants in my classes are at levels of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're all coming into, what does this mean? How do we do that? And we're helping each other. This Mary and Magdalene priestess training is geared toward helping people get to another level, and then you go off and do your thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is how the net goes.
Yes, it's an
So yes, I think absolutely there are and will be many more Marys and Magdalenes. And whether divine birth is part of their life or not, they are going to have the wisdom, the womb wisdom and the heart wisdom and the seeing wisdom to walk with integrity and to, really be awakening themselves and others.
And just like I say with human design, I mean, because sometimes like people will, be like, oh, it's so much information. How will I ever like embody this or actually do it or like live my design and stuff like that. And I think, to speak to what you were just saying there, it's like this energetic awareness that happens just when you're taking in the information,
Yeah.
or just when you've said yes to the priestess container, happening in September in your temple space. Like, just when you said yes, and you're in the energy of the energetic container of a online priestess temple, and it's almost like you don't have to totally have everything memorized and like, no,
No,
it's this energetic awareness that your
that's right.
cells start to kind of understand. And it's like, then you walk away and you think, sometimes I wondered through some of my initiations, did I learn anything, or am I living this?
Yeah.
Did I do that right? But then I realized like my own embodiment when I'm around other people and when I'm engaging with other human beings and their energy towards me, I'm like, oh, I'm different now. And that's really what this is through
Yeah.
this process.
I'm different now. This incremental improvement, this incremental learning, whether you even retain any of the historical details or not. That's not really the point. The point is take in whatever medicines are, vibrating more of your DNA awake. That's it.
Yeah, yeah. And it speaks to, it's really funny, but like I actually sleep with, I slept with this book underneath my pillow. And people
Oh,
think,
that's so sweet. I
now listen.
love that. You know why I love that, Jen, in particular? Because I often ask Mother Mary to hold me at night and or to if
Mm,
things are really intense to take me into her womb.
mm,
So I feel like you being with that book is some kind of intuitive understanding of how available she is.
yes,
It's really about that.
totally. It's about, it's exactly what you just said. It's the energy of the book. Okay.
Yeah.
Like it's not so much like, there's no way I'm going to remember all of it, but like,
Right.
I believe that, when you're putting things into words like this and, I've created that habit, like I'll put it under my pillow and like, I believe when I'm sleeping,
That's
I'm
right.
retaining, and I'm getting that energy from it,
That's
as
right.
well.
Because listen, Mother Mary was all about books. They said there were 6 books that were written about her ascension
Whoa.
and that she had some kind of book with this mystical secret information that she gave to the disciples. Now, I think I have that in this book. It's either in this book or the Mystery Tradition of Miraculous Conception. I'm going to have to go back and look. She was all into books, okay? So she must have been literate. And I think Mary Magdalene was literate too, because the Gospel of Mary is actually attributed to her. She may have written it. So for those of us who are a little bookish, books are magical,
Mhm.
right? They have a life, they have an energy, they have, so I love that. May it just keep radiating and provide good dreams and, lots
Yeah.
of awakenings for you as you
Yes.
sleep.
Yes, and the words, I mean, like that's why they call it spelling, right? Like there's
Yes.
something that's happening, like within the words of the book. And like so I always, even if I get something on Audible, I will buy the book. And like I have that
Super.
habit like where I will sleep with it. And it's just
Yeah.
like people think it's like so strange, but it's like honestly, like the energy from it, the words, like
Yeah.
they're in my aura,
Yes.
right? And they're
Yes.
more in my consciousness now and like I can feel it. And so that's really the magic lies in all of this of what we're talking about. So I mean, I can't thank you enough for the work that you do. Like this
Oh,
is endlessly fascinating to me. Like
um,
I mean, the amount of time,
yeah.
dedication you've taken out of your life to put towards uncovering and deciphering and putting together the timelines in order to unlock the greater secrets. Like, I mean, you should have a Nobel Peace Prize. Like, honestly, like I'm not just saying that. Like, you should literally like this is unbelievable. Like what you've done career and I'm actually gonna end with this question because I was thinking about it before like we connected here, which I was thinking about. I mean, there's a lot of women who listen to this podcast that are, you can say, business women. Like
Yeah.
they're trying to create their own spiritual business and stuff like
Yeah.
that. What would you say? I mean, you're so successful with all of what you've created with your online priestess temple, your books, your just everything, like your public speaking, everything I see you doing. What do you feel it has been the through line for you, like in your spiritual career?
Yeah. Um, First, let me say, Marguerite works her tuchus off. All right. It might look like it's all one thing, but behind the scenes, let me tell you, there's been a lot of nights with Mother Mary. All right, holding her, putting her in a womb with the anxiety over how is she going to get the next month's whatever. So, it has
Yeah.
not been, it's been kind of an up and down thing. But the through line, and every once in a while, I'm like, okay, am I complete? And then something will happen and it'll be like, no, you are not, you know. Um, the through line has been this intense passion. First of all, this intense curiosity about the cosmos. How does connecting with the knowledge, the Akashic records of, all times, like that to me is like, oh my God. right? I'm so freaking curious. I want to have those amazing altered, expanded states of consciousness. And I've always wanted to help people since I was a child. And so you put those two together and it's like, well, helping people into expanded states so that we can have the healing we need and so that we can have this awakening that we need on the planet and make it a better place, because I've suffered a lot. A lot of people have suffered a lot. Clients and participants in my trainings have suffered a lot. I mean, it's every day of the week. Flip on the news, a movie. I mean, there's so much suffering.
Mhm.
And I know that co-creating fifth dimension and Eden on earth is possible again. And that is my passion, to contribute everything and feel like I used every minute of my life well. And that's pretty much it, because I don't really waste time. I'm active a lot, and this has been a lifelong path. I do not have my own children. This is my birthing, onto the world, and it's been over decades. So I'm still in a way in that virgin tradition in some way, because sometimes I think, well, God, should I have had, a normal human life? Am I missing out because I didn't have kids? And it's just like, I couldn't have done it any other way. I so honor absolutely mothers and parents. But I couldn't have done it any other way. I had a one gear on and it was like, I'm going for it. And all I needed to hear was memes like Joseph Campbell, follow your bliss. And it was like, that was my permission slip, these kinds of things. And it
It,
hasn't always been bliss, You know how it is trying to make a living. It's like, woof. And Mary Magdalene was a financial supporter of Jesus, So every time I get into a pickle and I'm like, oh, money shouldn't matter. Oh, yeah, right. We're in a world with money right now. And Mary Magdalene was helping Jesus with that. He couldn't have done it without that. Whatever inheritance she came or gave or whatever. Okay. So we're just doing the best we can with the limitations, programs, and resources that we have to do what is burning in our soul to do. And I bless every woman and person listening to this who has a spiritual mission, like you, Jen, too, to be receiving the codes and the energies and all the resources you need to do this work and flourish and reduce the suffering factor in our lives and on the planet.
yeah. Yes. Yes. I cannot agree more. I mean, it reminds me of, I don't know who I heard this from, but somebody just said, let it be easy.
I
Like let it
know.
be. It's a simple mantra, right? Like as women in business, spiritual business. I mean, look at Mary Magdalene being Jesus's sugar mama, no, but like kind of maybe. And so we've known how to do money for longer than I think that we've ever been given accolades for, let's say. But letting it be easy and letting that passion drive you, and just
Yeah.
listening to how you just explained that, I'm like, you're definitely a generator or manifesting generator.
Okay.
Like
That's got to be it.
I told Marguerite I'm gonna figure it out. I have to
All
get a
right.
cooler chart now after this.
All right.
Um, but like I'm just so excited. Like I'm so happy to be able to bring this back. I should have reached out to you last time because I had such a fantastic response to your
Oh,
episode. Like,
blessed be.
I mean, sisters just like calling me, messaging me, like, holy, like, what is happening? And I'm like, yes,
So
like,
great to hear.
you know,
Thank you, Jen. Thank
yeah.
you for letting me know, for having this platform, and for being, motivated by your passion. Yes, I think that is today the message from Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene. Let your passion lead you. Let your burning passion lead you.
Yes,
Yeah.
feels so good to me. Thank you so much for your
Yeah.
time, your energy, everything on this podcast. Ugh, I just so value this. And remind us again what you have coming up in the temple, online temple space, and then also remind us of um, your online tags. We're going to put everything in the show notes, but just to
Great.
reiterate it and bring it back.
Okay, great. Wonderful. So yes, the simplest thing is just to go to, as you said, sevensistersmysteryschool.com, Seven. Everything's all there. So if you don't, get any of these links, you'll just go on and, oh, okay, there's the priestess training. Oh, there's the free call. Um, so the priestess training begins September 10th, 2024. Enrollment for that concludes August 28th, 2024. And we have that free masterclass, which is kind of a bit of an introduction, like really giving you some information and a further explanation of the training also on August 6th live. So if you go live before that, Jen, it would be great timing. And if not, people can just get it in replay. So I will send you those two links for you to be able to put it in the show notes so that people can sign up. And if people are leaning toward the training, but they need to talk to me, there's a link down near the payment information for you to have a complimentary half hour with me just to chat. Okay, what is it that you're looking for? What is it that you need? Do you have questions? And people can help make their decisions about that. So that's those two things, that masterclass and the training are the major things right now that I would focus on. We have many other ongoing things. And through this book, you can have guided meditations at the end of each chapter that are themed toward the chapter that put you in connection with Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene in a kind of a healing way, taken from my monthly Mary and Magdalene empowerment circles over the last few years. So that's a free way that you can get associated and get onto our email list and be kept abreast of what I'm doing and what our community is doing going forward.
Perfect. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. And I just double checked. I'm going to scoot this one up then. So this one's going to go live August 1st. You all will be hearing this
Perfect.
on the podcast. Yeah. And then it'll go out into the socials the first week of August. So likely August 5th or 6th is when it'll go on the socials. But I just want to make sure that it goes live. That way you all have a chance to jump on that first one. And then from there, keep in mind, it's happening right away. So like at
Yeah.
the end of August and then boom, early September is when it's actually going to
Yes.
totally be opening up. So, and
That's
of
right.
course, don't forget to grab your copy of The Secret Life of Mother Mary, Divine Feminine Power for Personal Healing and Planetary Awakening. It's
That's right.
everything. It'll be
We're
your read for the year if you get
Oh,
it.
blessed
I
be,
promise.
blessed be. And if you get it on Amazon, we welcome your reviews.
Yes.
Those are wonderful for people to read and to help spread the word about the book. So we love hearing your voices. And we also, on the Seven Sisters Mystery School Facebook page, we have a pinned post under which you can offer your comments, your shares, and questions about the book. So we really want to get that dialogue going. So you know, it's
Yes.
it's at least something for people in the public to be able to chat with, right? It's like a living chat.
Keeping us all together. So,
Yeah.
yes, super excited about all of this. All of it will be linked in the show notes, like I said. And I'm sure we'll be hearing more from Marguerite in the future, more things that continue to unfold and new layers coming through. So, thank you so much again for your energy today. And yeah, I'm sure we'll be reconnecting.
You're welcome. Thank you for this opportunity. And once again, for all the passion you bring to what you do in this podcast and well beyond.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for listening. We'll be back again very soon.